TCL HD TV model number 55 Sierra 451. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's Sean, Having Fun Repairs. Got a customer who's got this TV, gave it to me. Unfortunately, didn't get the remote from the customer, but it apparently turns on, but there's no display. I had to take a break from working on that radio to jump onto a customer repair. I'm not seeing a reset button on the back of this thing. I mean, there's power, there's your typical hookups. Maybe there's something on the inside. I'll most likely have to take this TV apart. But this isn't a backlight issue, and this is not a broken display issue. Let me show you. Bear with me. I've kind of got this up on the side because I don't want to sit it on the bottom. There's the power button. You can see the lights illuminated. And you can see right now, see how light the TV got? The backlight is on, but we don't have any display. As a matter of fact, if I press this button again, we got audio. Be very interested to figure out what's actually going on here. Backlight is on, but no display whatsoever. If I can get a reset button.
Turn on the screen reader. Press the home button on the upper right of your remote. Press the back button on the upper left of your remote to stop playing this message.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Maybe there's a reset in there, or maybe something has actually gone bad. Who knows at this point, but really the only thing I can do at this point is take it apart. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be troubleshooting this TV and hopefully maybe figure out what's going wrong with it and get it repaired. So just to be honest with you, it does look like something was dripped down the back side of this TV. Don't know what it is, but there's the opening or the cooling vents for what I assume is probably the power supply and maybe the digital video board, processors, etc. We got another one down there. Hopefully I can figure this one out. I'm kind of scratching my head a bit for this one. I suspected with what he told me that this was going to be a backlight issue, but this is definitely not a backlight issue. This is something else. So I'm going to find some place to set this down very carefully so the screen's not getting damaged at all, and get these screws out and start checking out the back cover. The components and the boards underneath the back cover. Yeah, these things are definitely built to their price point. There's not much to this at all. I've actually got a couple wires running off going to each individual speaker. It's your power supply. It's looking to be a small switch mode power supply. Here's your main video board, whatever you want to call it. And it's got its primary confuser sitting underneath that heatsink. Of course, you have multiple hookups, Ethernet, 3 HDMI ports, 4 of them. Sorry, one of them appears to have ARC on it. Yeah, it does. Cable antenna, AV adapter, headphones, and optical out. And look at what I just discovered that I didn't see earlier. There's the reset right beside the USB port. This is definitely built to a price. This isn't really overcomplicated television set. So if this is all that's in it, you have this board go bad, it's all bad, right? Obviously, because the backlight's turning on, it's not a backlight issue. I don't think we're gonna have any issue with our rails down here. Looking at our ribbon cables, none of them appear to be pulled out or jostled around or anything of that magnitude. So I'm not seeing an issue there. And then whatever was dripped on the back, well, I'm not seeing it down into this board at all. So I think I'm going to prop this up and plug it back in and try that reset on it. I just need to turn it on and press that button, see if anything happens afterwards, and hopefully that's all there is to this one. Okay, plugged back in, we got it on. As you can see, its screen's illuminated. I'm gonna stick this in here, hit that reset button. There we go. I'm gonna hold it down for about 10 seconds or so. All right, let's see what we got now. It's back on. Down there is blinking. got brighter. But yeah, still no picture. So then there is something that's preventing our digital image to come up on the display. See, I had to put down some rags here on the edge of this bench because I don't want the TV directly resting on the wood. And we can still hear that. I've got some more troubleshooting to do. Alright, so I'm going to take my thermal imager to this, do a bit of troubleshooting. I suspect components here, like, yeah, I'm going to be careful with my fingers, right up there. Certain components on the power supply to get hot. I'm not too concerned about that. Yeah, these diodes are pretty hot. These diodes right there, as well as, what does this look like? Yeah, those diodes right there. That IC right there. Yeah, all that I suspect to get pretty hot. When we take a step back, yeah, that heat sink's going to be warm. Like I said, that's the main confuser. Not too concerned about that. When we come down here, let's just scan upwards. Alright, so we got a nice hot spot right here. Let me get a little bit closer so you can see that. Alright, so that hot spot is going to be that tiny little IC sitting right above this inductor. What else do we have? Okay, so that which is getting hot is going to be this chip sitting right here. Alright, and what else do we have getting hot? Something about right here. And I believe that is that tiny little transistor or voltage regulator sitting there. So we got some things we can check out on here. I'm going to get them marked out better, which components are hot, and then I'm going to take this board out and start probing it a tad bit. Alright, I know it's going to look a bit washed out, but I need that light on in order to at least see what I'm doing on this board, since I'm still not in my typical type of setup. But anyways, so I did end up marking that transistor here, this component here, this transistor here, and this component here. And in all honesty, probing around the board, there's no direct shorts on these transistors, minus that one leg there, which could be connected directly to ground. I'll double check that one. And there are no direct shorts on this transistor here. Now, as far as this component goes, none of these caps are shorted around it. Now that is an audio driver IC. Sorry, that was the audio driver IC. This had to do with audio as well. So I don't believe it's either one of those two components that were getting hot. I think I was checking something over there and just looking it up. But, you know, I decided to go ahead and take the shielding off of our ARM processor here. This is a, let's see if I can get it into the camera, MediaTek ARM. You can see that part number there, MT9010, Papa Alpha Alpha Tango Bravo Bravo. This is a specialty ARM Tech chip. I can't find it on a Google search, but this is your main processor, and this is what's going to also process images that will go out to the display. Now I did, while not recording, check all of our caps going to our display connectors, and none of them are blown. None of these filter caps, nothing here is directly shorted to ground. Everything looks really good. However, when I was checking the caps over on this side, Yeah, those aren't shorted. But all these right here pretty much are, minus this last one. I think it goes onto a different tray, so I'll have to look at it a bit closer. But these caps are all shorted. Maybe I was touching over there. I should probably put on my fine tip ones, but these caps right here are definitely shorted. Across both sides. And what do you want to bet that it is this this main IC here? I highly doubt I'll be able to get one, but I can get a replacement board. So why don't we try to prove that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to inject voltage on one side of these capacitors and just see if what heats up when I do. Alright, so what I've done is I've actually hooked a lead up to one side of this inductor right here, because it's actually, now that I got a fine tip probe on my multimeter, it's all these capacitors between these two rails right here leading up and through that inductor, going over to this little IC right here, which I am going to assume is some kind of voltage regulator or something like that. Again, I don't know. These part numbers I'm not finding online, although I do know what some of these things are, but those specific part numbers I'm not finding online. But anyways, what we're going to do now is we're going to eject 1 volt into here, and we're just going to see what gets hot. So let me actually turn the light off for this. And you get the current a tad bit up, and never mind this right down here. That's just a reflection off of that metal case. And if you see a little reflection show up here, that's just the metal case on top of that component as well. But let me get this onto here. And get our current turned up a little bit. And we're beginning to see a heat spot right there. And that is in the middle of this arm chip. Right there. Alright. So at this point in time, I 100% believe, since it's not showing up on these caps, that our failure is somewhere within this chip. It's able to turn on, but it is not able to process a display out our display connectors and onto the LCD. So I'm going to message the seller because I cannot find this chip, but I can get a replacement board, and we'll see about getting a replacement board and installed on the TV, and hopefully that will work for him. Now, quick little side note about these TCL TVs, and yeah, like I mentioned, they're priced per the value they're sold at. These ARM processors on them, what are they, like a CPU slash GPU kind of deal, or APU or whatever, graphics processor and central processing unit. These are basically the same thing you get out of a cellular device. So think about that a little bit when you're looking at the scale of what's in here compositionally as far as components, and then a power supply. You're basically just paying for a big panel being driven by a cell phone. That's kind of it. Okay, so at this point in time, I planned on and have recorded doing a side-by-side comparison of the T-Con boards, testing out the new one and the TV, etc., etc., etc. I put the new one in and turned it on, and lo and behold, the screen was still not working. So I pulled the T-Con boards out. The new one did a comparison with the old one, was recording all that stuff, and really it was just a whole slew of minutes of me waffling about and not finding an answer for why the screen still wasn't turning, even with the replacement board. So I'm excluding that out of this section. So then I really got to thinking, well, what did I think was a short? those capacitors that were going to the inductor. And you know, when we were looking at a lot of different things in previous videos that had similar arrangements, that always occurred around like an oscillator circuit or an antenna circuit, but primarily in oscillator circuits. And really your LCD panels, they need a timing source in order to operate. Okay, there's a clock provided per your lines for your LEDs, and so essentially that clock is needed for each line, for each LED to illuminate. However, on the actual LCD, then its potential is pulling that clock to ground or something like that. And then maybe that's what our issue is. Okay, so I decided, well, let me put the old board back in, which I did. Again, I'm not including any of those other things I recorded, because at this point, even though I'll leave in some of this board stuff that we've done, at this point it's a null, and just make this video way too long. So what I did is I went ahead and put back in the old board with the suspected shorts, and I disconnected this cable. And we're going to turn the TV on, because since I have power plugged in, and let's just take a look. And would you look at that? We have half a picture on one side of the display. That's pretty crazy. So that tells me that the issue is with inside the LCD. Okay, something's driving those pixels.
Turn on the screen reader. Press the home button on the upper right of your remote.
I'll turn this
off.
off.
Press the back button on the upper.
Is what's causing that issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this real quick, and then I'm going to plug this one back in and take the other one out. Give me a second. So I've got this one now disconnected, this one plugged in, and let me put back in the power. Now it'll automatically start up at this point, and we'll see what happens. So yes, 100% the issue is on the left side of our display. Now, whether or not I can fix this, I do not know. But we are going to attempt to do something that I actually saw when I was researching this and Googled, you know, some research on TCL and panel issues and clock issues, etc. And I stumbled across this video where this guy used Scotch tape to tape over.
To turn on the screen reader, press the home button on the upper right of your remote.
Let me turn this off.
Press the back button on the upper left of your remote.
To tape over the pins on that connector, what would have the clock. And then he slowly cut away until he found out which line the bad clock was on, which would correspond to the dead pixels on the LCD. And luckily enough, it was high enough on his display that it wasn't really such a nuisance. We're going to try to recreate that ourselves in this video. So the first thing I need to do is I will need to plug this one back in and unplug that one. Of course, I need to unplug this from its power source. And I need to determine which lines on this cable should be our clock source. So I'm going to have to take a look around and hopefully be able to determine all that. So let me show you exactly what I'm doing. So I've put clear tape across the connector. You can see I got one of the copper pads exposed. What I'm doing is I clear taped across it, plugged it in, made sure that the right side of the TV is still displaying, and then I'm removing the tape only to expose one pad at a time. This is going to be very time consuming, and I'll keep it exposed one pad at a time until either I start getting display on the left side or the right side goes out. The right side goes out, I know that whatever pad is exposed, that is a bad pin, essentially. bad portion of the connector. So that will have to get taped back over. And yeah, so I'm going to do this painstakingly, one line at a time, until I see a difference in the display. Either the display is illuminated or the right side goes out. Now if the right side goes out, I'll probably tape up to that pin and retape that one pin that caused the right side to go out, and then I'll start removing from the other side of the cable until the same issue occurs. And hopefully we only have one pin off of this connector that's bad within that entire display. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, this is going to be very time consuming for myself, especially since nothing is labeled clock on the board. Now I assume it might be on the right side. I mean, again, I don't know. Nothing's labeled on here as far as what is the actual clock. So, and unless I have technical data, you know, I could put an O-scope to each pin and pin it out and try to do it without shorting across any pins. But usually a clock is like CLK, but I'm just not seeing this anywhere on here. So I'm just going to take this method because I think it's the best method to use without accidentally shorting something out. Should be the safest. Well, about midway through, I've now got both sides, but we still haven't found that one line
to turn
yet
on the screen reader, press the home button
that is causing the screen to go black.
Press the back button on the upper left of your remote.
And so you can see that we are midway point on the top to about right there. And then 2 at the very bottom. So at this point, and I was taking them off 3 at a time to get to here. Minus the bottom, I was doing 1 at a time. But at this point, I'm going to start taking 1 off the top, testing, 1 off the bottom, testing, until the entire screen goes black. Okay, so I know this is going to be hard to see on the phone, but really we have multiple areas on the display that are bad. And what I've been able to determine is I need to keep pins 3 through 6. You can kind of see it glossy down there at the bottom, taped over, and then 9 through 13 or 14 taped over as well. And the reason being is if I start to cut any more pins loose, then I'll start to get black bars running through the center of the display with some of them. And I've tried each one individually just to see what it would produce, which took me forever. But I'll either start to get the black bars or the display won't turn on at all. So multiple areas in the display that are not working. But I will plug this in and show you what it at least looks like. So here it goes, and you may or may not be able to tell via the phone recording this, but you do have some anomalies. You can see that there's screen flicker here, brightness. You'll have ghosting. You see how that ghosted, and then it has to catch up. But at least it's a working display, so that would give, it's probably not watchable to be honest, but it does give something in the meantime. Now, like I said, as far as like the black bars go, when I start to take off more of the outside, say 14 or 13 or 3 or 4, actually 3, you'll start to get black bars up the center. Then if I go like 4, it goes completely black. Or if I start to take off, say, pin number 9, the screen will power up, but then it becomes unresponsive, and then you can see like right smack dab in the center a black dot. So it seems like we have multiple issues with this display, and it's not just, say, one row bad. It's multiple, and you got this nice, it's not nice, but you see that checkered pattern. But like I said, at least it will give something until the customer can get a new TV. So display bad, not repairable, and yes, the strip that runs on the inside that has all the capacitors and resistors and stuff, I checked all them. They were not an issue. But I suppose this is going to do it for now. I need to factory reset this thing and let the customer know what's going on. And yeah, that's going to be it. So if you're troubleshooting TCL TV and you suspect a TCON board, don't buy a TCON board yet. I shipped that one back. The old one's back in. What you need to do is you need to remove one of the LCD connectors, those fat ribbon cables. One, unplug it, take out one, plug it back in. Do you get half a display? If not, then unplug it again, put the one you pulled back in, pull the other one out. Do you get half a display? And that will indicate whether or not it's a LCD panel issue versus a TCON. If you don't get anything, then try the TCON. But if you do that, then it is your LCD panel. And as you can see, there is a way to try to get your TV working again, to at least get a picture. But you know, your results are going to vary, just like mine right here. All that being said, thank you for watching this episode of Having Fun Repairs. This has been a failure, but it is what it is as far as customer repair. He's going to have to get a new TV. If you like this video and you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. If you are in need of a repair, then please check out my Google site. Links in the description. It'll take you to my Google site where you download a Word document and you fill it out, you email it to me, and we'll go from there. Anyways, y'all take care. Goodbye. Bart?